All right, welcome class. Today we're going to do something really powerful. We're taking a core concept from microeconomics, the budget constraint, and we're going to pull it right out of the textbook and turn it into a practical, strategic tool you can actually use in the boardroom. Let's get into it. So let's start with a problem that I know every single one of you faces. You've got these huge goals, this grand vision, unlimited ambition, but a very, very limited budget. How in the world do you square that circle? This isn't just a textbook puzzle, this is the core dilemma of being a manager.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basic theory. Then we'll get our hands dirty and actually draw the budget line. We'll use a simple case study to make it real, and then, this is the important part, we'll pivot to a real-world management scenario, analyze the strategic zones it creates, and wrap up with the big trade-off that you, as the leader, have to make.
Okay, so how do we formally deal with this gap, this tension between what we want to do and what we can actually afford? Well, economists have a really powerful reality check. It's called the budget constraint.
Now, it is absolutely crucial that you see this the right way. A budget constraint is not just some barrier that says no. That's the wrong way to think about it. Instead, I want you to see it as a strategic map. It's a map that clearly shows you the entire frontier of your possible choices, every single combination of projects or initiatives you can afford.
All right, let's see how this map of possibilities becomes a real, precise visual tool. We're going to translate this whole concept into a simple line that you can literally draw, analyze, and use to make better decisions.
And this equation right here, this is the engine that drives the whole analysis. Don't let it intimidate you, it's incredibly simple. On the left, you've just got your total spending on two different things. Call them projects, new hires, marketing campaigns, whatever. And on the right, that's your total budget. To be truly efficient, your spending has to exactly equal that budget.
Theory is one thing, but let's make this tangible. We're going to use a classic example, a family planning their vacation, to see exactly how this equation works in the real world. First things first, you have your total income. For this family, it's a vacation fund of 5 million rupiah. For you, as a manager, this is your quarterly marketing budget, your R&D funds, your hiring allocation. You get the idea. It's the total pile of resources you have to work with. Now, every budget forces you to make a choice. You can't have it all. Here, the family has to figure out how to split their money between two things they want: days packed with fun activities versus nights in a fancy premium sea view room. It's a classic trade-off. And of course, every option has a price tag. In this case, one day of activities costs 400,000 rupiah. This is the unit cost of one of your choices. Think of it in business terms as the cost of, say, one digital ad campaign. And the other option has its own price. That premium room costs 1.2 million rupiah. Now, notice something really important here. It's 3 times more expensive than the activity day. That price ratio, that's going to determine the slope of our budget line, just how steep the trade-off really is. So how do we actually draw this line? It's incredibly simple. All you do is calculate the two most extreme possibilities. First, what if you went all in on option X? And then, what if you went all in on option Y? Once you have those two endpoints, you just connect them with a straight line. That's it. And look at that. This perfectly shows the absolute outer limits of their choice. If they blow all 5 million on activities, they get 12.5 days. If they spend it all on those fancy rooms, they only get a little over 4 nights. Every single possible vacation plan they could come up with lies somewhere on the line that connects these 2 points. Okay, now for the pivot. This is where it gets really interesting for us. Let's take this simple vacation model and apply it directly to a strategic decision you'd face as, say, a marketing manager. The logic is exactly the same. The mapping is one-to-one. The vacation fund, that's your marketing spend. Those lower-cost, high-volume activity days, those are your digital ad campaigns. And the expensive, high-impact hotel rooms, well, those are your big-ticket trade show sponsorships. You see? You're no longer choosing between fun and luxury. You're choosing between strategic reach and deep, focused impact. Now, this line we've drawn, it's not just a boundary. It actually carves up your entire strategic landscape into 3 really distinct zones. And where your final plan ends up has massive implications for your performance, your department, and frankly, your career. So let's define these really clearly. Anything above the line is unaffordable. That's the dream zone, your aspiration for next year's budget. Anything on the line is efficient. You are using every last penny you are given. And anything below the line, well, it's affordable, sure, but it raises a huge question. Is it inefficient? And this brings us to a really critical debate that happens in every company. Your CFO, they might see coming under budget as a huge win for financial prudence. But should you? Is leaving money on the table actually a success? Or is it a sign that you failed to be ambitious enough? You can see the conflict laid out right here. The argument for being in that affordable zone is all about cost efficiency, saving capital for a rainy day. But the argument against it is pretty damning, right? It could mean you missed a huge growth opportunity. It might mean your forecasting was flawed from the start. Or maybe it just signals a lack of ambition to use the resources you fought for. From a pure microeconomic perspective, the answer here is crystal clear. The line itself is the efficiency frontier. Any point on that line means you are getting the absolute maximum output possible for your given budget. Being below it means, by definition, you did not maximize your potential impact. Period. So, this brings us to the most crucial point of all, the budget line. It's a tool for clarity. It is not a machine that spits out answers. It illuminates your options and the trade-offs between them with perfect precision. But it cannot, and it will not, make the strategic choice for you. This is the key takeaway I want you to burn into your brain. The maths, the line on the graph, it gives you the boundary of what is possible. But your knowledge of the market, your strategic goals, your vision for the company, that is what tells you which point on that line is optimal. Do you need the broad reach of 100 digital ads, or do you need the deep impact of one major sponsorship? The line can't tell you that. And that is the question this entire framework leaves you with. By forcing you to make your constraints and your trade-offs explicit, it demands a deliberate, conscious, strategic choice. It transforms budgeting from a boring accounting exercise into a true active leadership. So, looking at the possibilities laid out before you, which point will you pick?